Welcome to the Build Idaho Podcast. My name is Trey Langford, and my co-host today in pink plaid is John Miniger.
Hey everybody, I had to wear pink plaid today. I swore that Trey was going to wear plaid and I was going to do this to tease him a little bit, and now I get to be the one who's teased.
Tell us about what we're going to do today.
Well, today I got to tell you that we are going to reveal the man behind the curtain.
The man behind the curtain.
Everybody wonders, how does a house and a development get put up that quick? What happens? Well, today we're going to learn all about the back scenes, from when it was a little piece of farmland with a little farmhouse to streets, roads, and gutters.
Yeah, and we're going to feature Tanner Verhoeks today. So Tanner, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I am not from Idaho. I moved here in 2018, but I've loved it. I've brought my family here to raise them, and traditionally a civil engineer, turned developer, and now sprinkling a little bit of building.
Let's get into it. I think one of the first questions I have for you is, how does someone go from, here's a piece of land, what should we do with it?
Sure.
Tell us, how does the vision start?
We feel that we are stewards of the land, and so it's important to us to consider its highest and best use.
Right.
You really want to, put value into the land, not just money, but, value to people. And that takes some time. You have to consider what's there, what's around it, what jurisdiction it's in, what the jurisdiction would like to see there, what the neighbors' goals are, and then what can be done.
Tell us about working with people.
Okay.
Government entities,
Yeah.
Neighbors. I mean, everyone has expectations, and you're trying to do something
Sure.
to make things better. So how do you communicate that to different people?
The agencies, they have a job to do. They're people just like us. People can get frustrated with the process sometimes, but it's the process, so we tend not to overthink it or get angry. I found that some neighbors don't like change, mostly because they don't understand it or they have some concerns.
Right.
But they're people too, and so if you sit down and you talk to them, you learn what those concerns are, and you just try to find solutions to potential problems. Most people end up feeling more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to be happy, and we understand that, but we do the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask Tanner is that it's like you drive past a piece of farmland every day. We drive past it every day. We see the farmhouse there every day for years since, for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And then we drive by one day and we see a public notice hearing sign, on the land.
The infamous sign.
The infamous sign. Can you tell us what goes on behind the scenes right there? Like, how long does that take from the time that you identify a piece of property to that sign going up?
Again, it would plan for 30 to 60 days. There's a lot of due diligence that goes into that, right? There's zoning, entitlements, geotechnical investigations, talking to the highway districts, just financial capital stacks, right? Seeing if you can take it down, if the owner just wants to sell it, if they want to partner and carry the land. 30 to 60 days I would plan for planning out the vision and getting it ready to submit an application for entitlements.
So walk me through a little more detail about a timeline. So we see a piece of property.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to put it under contract, due diligence?
Yeah.
What are the next couple steps?
Yeah. You would hope that you find a property, put it under contract. You would hope that that's, 30 to 60 days. Sometimes it's longer, just takes, and it depends on what you work out with the seller. Sometimes we'd always don't want to put it on contract. We just want an option, right? We just want to protect a due diligence period so that we can do the diligence we need in order to protect our investors' interest, right? So
how long on an average piece of property is due diligence? I know it can vary.
Yeah.
There's water rights.
From contract diligence to having a plan to submitting it, 60 days.
60 days.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
No.
All right. What, after you've identified a property, you've done your due diligence, you've talked to the local authorities, and you haven't talked to neighbors yet at that point, true?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. So when do neighbors come into play?
Typically at your first neighborhood meeting.
With the sign that we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and so people are going to get a letter. Typically, it's everyone in a radius of 600 feet, from your property boundary. You have to submit a letter and mail it out to them. They meet you at a public place, school, on the land, or a church nearby, and you have a conversation. Sometimes they show up with pitchforks and they're really angry, but typically we'll have the conversation. In the past, we've had follow-up neighborhood meetings. They're not required by the jurisdictions, but it's important to Haven, to us, to just allow more dialogue. Usually we'll give people an email that they can email into, or a phone, or we'll host breakfast or coffee spots and stuff, and just try to communicate with people.
That's cool.
So that's when we talk to neighbors, and we feel like that's an ongoing process pretty much throughout the whole entitlement period.
One of the things I've noticed with being with clients out in the field is that they wonder, they're like, well, the builder did something weird with this lot, or this lot is this way. Yeah. It's actually not the builder at all that determines all that. It's actually
that's the developer.
The developer that's out there making what we call a plat,
yep.
which is basically a blueprint of the land. Sure. and designing the size, the shapes, various shapes of the lots. Tell us a little bit about how you create that.
Yeah. So we bring it into CAD, computer-aided design. Most people are using Civil 3D these days. It's really cool what we can do. We take a drone out there. We'll go ahead and get a photogrammetry aerial of the site. We'll bring it into CAD. Hopefully you have the topography. You'd like to know how the land lays. Out here, farmland's pretty flat. Makes it easy. We actually like topography most of the time. And then, we just, depending on the goal of the property, there can be an acreage community, or there can be townhome infill in the city, right? And so you figure out the size of the lot, you cut the roads through, you take into account the topography, where your open space needs to go, how the landscaping is going to be. So it just sit in time. A lot of it's sketching. Once you get the vision kind of together, then you hand it off to the engineering firm to kind of fine tune it and make sure the roads and everything, meet code. And so, yeah.
Tell me about costs.
Costs.
I mean, that's something everyone wants to know. I mean, everyone thinks developers just make a gob of money, right? It seems like people I talk to just think developers just make a gob of money. Like, there's no risk.
Sure.
But what does it cost to have the piece of land platted?
$100,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
After all the studies you do, application fees, paying your consultants and your engineers, it adds up.
It adds up fast.
Lawyers. It depends on the entitlement period. If you have to go through multiple cycles of hearings, planning and zoning, BOCC, it just takes time.
All right.
Every time a consultant shows up to a hearing for us to speak, on the project's behalf, even in just a neutral, right? They bill us for 5 hours, and engineers are
not minimum wage.
$300, $400 an hour, right? They get billed out, so it adds up.
Yeah. All right. Tell me tell me, in today's market, this is 2024. Okay. What would you expect to pay per lot? I mean, let's just say I'm a wannabe developer.
Raw land.
What would I expect to pay for development costs per lot? And I realize, there's a difference between 100 and 30, but basic math. Let's take a 30 lot subdivision.
Are we just purchasing the land, or are you talking about putting horizontal?
Purchasing the land.
Okay, purchasing the land, raw land. A couple years ago, I would say it was down 30 or 50 grand.
Yeah.
It's up now. Everyone's kind of found Idaho, found Boise, Treasure Valley. I'd say we want to stay probably 60, 70 grand a lot.
Yeah, and that includes land or not includes land?
That's just purchasing raw land from the seller.
All right. Cool.
When you have a development like that, I've always said too to the clients, man, the builder is not the one at risk. It's always the developer who's out the most amount of money for the longest amount of time, and you have to speculate the market out the farthest than anybody in the process.
Yeah.
How long do you have to usually speculate that property out? Is that usually a year to 18 months?
Yeah, I would say from the time you find the land, conception, vision, to you're selling your last lot, 18 months, 24 months.
So it's a lot longer than people really think.
And
Yeah.
that's just the land.
Yeah,
we don't have a home yet.
Yeah, that's just
The home is
infrastructure. That's a dirt lot ready to build on.
So you're still 4 to 8 months away from having a house on that lot for sale.
Yeah, I mean, projects are all different. You could fit the
Right.
whole, but in general, we plan for our bigger, more complex projects to be kind of a 2-year journey.
In your experience, can you tell me? I've heard in the past people talk about just basic fractions of what development looks like. So a third of the cost should be purchasing the land, a third of the cost should be development, and a third is profit. Is that relatively true?
You know, that's probably a good question for my business partner. Maybe we'll have him here on one day. He's the risk management, capital stack, financial guru. I am execution, boots on the ground, kind of get things entitled, built, engineered, right? But I do know that we don't really care more about that. We care about what's left at the end of the day that we get to promise investors, right? Because that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And so typically, we're not touching a project unless we can know that we're going to get returns in the high teens, low 20s, because that's what investors are expecting,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
over a 2-year project.
Could go south.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right.
Yeah, I don't. What exactly behind the scenes? Like, what kind of communities do you have going on right now? Like, what do you have going on?
So we have an acreage community out in Middleton.
Oh, acreage community.
Yeah.
Boom, acreage community. Everybody wants acreage in Idaho. Now's your chance.
Yeah. Haven Ridge. It's on the west side of Middleton. It's cool. It wasn't traditional farmland. It was actually existing lots in an old subdivision from the 70s that were much larger. They had gone into disrepair, junkyards, and so we decided to put 3 lots together and split them up into smaller parcels. They have a bit of a slope on them, great views looking to the west. Acre and a half,
Nice.
you know? Yeah.
Nice. What's the price range on something like that?
Are you talking about a house or a lot?
No, just a lot.
Yeah, so lots, 250 to 300 grand based on the lot characteristics or what's included.
There you go. There's your answer. If you want to know how much it costs to buy an acre in Idaho, there's your number.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, tell us a little bit about your company. Like, you've been around for how long now?
Haven Idaho has been doing what we do in Idaho since 2021.
Tell us about your company. What do you love? What do you love about what you're doing?
Haven Idaho, I like that people constantly tell us that we're different. We're not typical developers. We're not just there to make money. Justin and I really think about creating communities and leaving things better than we found it. And so, you know, we always say that we like to invite people to join us, and we like to create things, and then success is people thriving in the communities when it's all said and done.
That fits right into how you introduce yourself, as we're stewards of the land. So
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. What do you think the hardest part about being a developer is?
People assuming your motivations.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
You know, developers don't have a great rap, you know, great name. People think that you're just there to, you don't care about the people around it and stuff like that. And so there's been times I've been slandered in public hearings by people that don't really even know me.
Right.
I'd love to take them out to coffee and actually see what common ground we have and stuff like that. So yeah, just people assuming that your intents are not noble.
Yeah.
Or good, or that you're taking advantage of someone.
So when you say that you're different, and I think that you are, break that down a little bit more, because you seem to be more community related, more community oriented on the thought and process of the neighbor and the neighborhoods and the best use. So tell me a little bit more how you make sure that you do that right.
Sure. I think, you know, we're engineers. We like to solve problems, and so we like to protect the good that exists, and we want to problem solve the stuff that needs fixing. So just that preservation mindset,
Right.
but also the problem solving mindset, we put those together. We're very partnership minded, and you know, we view a lot of other groups as stakeholders than I think other developers do. The jurisdictions, the cities, those are partners and stakeholders for us.
Yeah.
The existing neighbors, and then we always look at a project and think, how can we pleasantly surprise people. You know, what can we do a little bit different here that people will be like, wow, why don't all communities have something like this, right?
So you could be talking about like the plat itself, where it's showing the blueprint, like we talked about, of the lots, and actually making really nice common area, walkways,
Sure,
pathways, waterways,
Yeah.
pool houses, and things like that. Are we talking that in your communities too, where you want to have that, what we call, is that green space?
Yeah, open space, green
Open
space,
space.
yeah, amenities. So that's part of it. But the other part is, you know, some of those things, they usually just take a little extra effort, right? And so Justin and I work a little harder. We're a little more creative. We spend a little extra money here and there. And what we can do is, right, we view a project as, you know, it creates a circle. And if you just work harder or more creative, you can grow that and have this excess. And our goal is to not put that in our pockets, but to share it with all of our stakeholders. The jurisdictions, the cities, the neighbors, the neighbors that have existed there, the new neighbors that are moving in to the community, stuff like that. So,
Very nice.
yeah.
Tell me about money and expectations. I realize your partner runs the money gig,
Yeah.
which is fantastic for you. Someone's got to do that.
Sure.
But money and expectations. What expectations do you set for your investors, neighbors? Like, how do you set the vision and expectations, and how does the money flow through all that?
Sure. Raising capital is not easy, especially when the market starts getting wacky and stuff like that. Justin and I find that investors don't invest in projects; they invest in the operators, right?
Right.
And so you have to have you know, a testimony and a track record. You have to build up that trust, and Justin and I take that very seriously.
Yeah, because if I don't trust you, I don't care how good the project looks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then we do the financial modeling, and we show people our work, and we back it up, and we are conservative, and we're always talking about the risks and risk management, and so we let people know what the downsides are, and then hopefully our goal is to limit the downside and leave the upside, you know, limitless, right?
When you talk about risk, you know, you have this community out in Middleton that's acre lots. Where do you spread to? I mean, we're Build Idaho, and it's a big name.
Yeah.
Where do you spread to?
So we have projects in the Treasure Valley. We have 4 of them going on right now. And then we even have a project over in Idaho Falls. And then we have a sister company that is doing stuff down in San Diego.
Yeah.
So
And I know you talked to someone in Teton Valley we talked to together.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's cool.
no, I mean, just the diversification of the markets is always good. That's another risk management tool. It allows our investors to kind of put chunks of money in different spots. You know, they like that. So.
Very cool. Okay, so Tanner, tell me, what have you learned about being a developer over the course of this part of your life?
What have I learned? It takes patience and a lot of hard work. You know, my family can attest. I have a full-time job, and I left a day job to pursue this. Still putting in 60 hours a week.
Right.
You know, I'm up at night thinking about how to make stuff work, because, you know, you have investors and you have people that are upset or happy, or you want to keep happy, and all this stuff, you know, neighbors. And so
Patience.
We don't sprint. We like to say that we don't high sear. We like to grill low and slow.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that. Yeah. And so that's fun. But and then we don't let perfection limit progress. And we prefer a slow-growing hardwood as opposed to a fast-growing softwood.
Perfect.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, as always, we'd like to thank our guest, Tanner. We'd like to thank Trey. And don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and share. And we'll be back with you next week from Build Idaho.